Anushka, how are you doing today?
Great, how are you?
I am doing well. Are you doing anything for AAPI Heritage Month?
I can't say that there's anything in particular I'm doing to celebrate, but is there anything you're doing?
That's such a great question. I'm not so sure that I'm really doing much in terms of AAPI Heritage Month because, for instance, we'll celebrate, Chinese or Lunar New Year. So
Right.
that's something we'll do, but that doesn't fall in May. It's kind of different in the sense that, it's not necessarily a holiday, but I do think the Heritage Month, it's important is for us to, learn more about our culture. So I think, for me, or for us as we're approaching API Heritage Month, I actually want to encourage our listeners to reflect what this heritage means to them, whether it connects you to your own family or is it something you hear about through friends and colleagues. It's really an opportunity to recognize how heritage influences not only who we are, but how we care for ourselves and others. And so this is kind of interesting because, as often is the case, health and wellness we know is such a strong value within the Asian culture. In fact, we greet each other, such as in Mandarin Chinese, 祝你身体健康, which actually translates to wish you good health. And Anushka, I'm actually curious about with you.
Yeah, so in Gujarati, actually, a common greeting is Tamari tabiat kem che, and that
Ah,
would translate to how is your health?
oh, wow. And may I ask, is it a common greeting or is it during certain time of a holiday?
It's absolutely very common. It's just about as common as saying hello to someone.
Oh, wow. So I'm wondering within this, what does Asian American heritage mean for you?
Well, as I think about what my Asian American heritage means to me, I actually think about how often mental health goes unspoken in my culture. As I learned in many AAPI languages, in fact, there's no actual direct translation for the term mental health.
And I actually want to reiterate that. For example, when I told my parents I was studying, psychology, gosh, they translated it, or 心理学 actually is about the heart, studied of the heart rather than, the mind. But then, I'm not skilled when it comes to Mandarin. So I'm sure there's some things that are lost in translation here.
Right, yeah. But the absence in a language can sometimes reflect an absence in dialogue, and your emotions, trauma, and stress are internalized or masked or misunderstood, like you kind of mentioned. It doesn't mean that those experiences don't exist. It just means that the way we talk about them, or even if we talk about them at all, it can look really different across all the cultures.
Yeah, yeah. So something I look forward to during this series, I'm actually curious, what are some of the things you are eager to hear as part of our AAPI Heritage Series?
I really am excited to see us open up that conversation. Like, what does healing look like when you don't quite have the words for it or the words don't exist? How do we name feelings in these languages that weren't built for that? And how can we, as psychologists, bridge that gap between compassion and understanding and not having the words for it?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, thank you very much for just, having this conversation with me. And I really encourage our listeners to stay tuned for our AAPI Heritage Series. And this is your host, Jack Zhen.
And I am Anishka Parag.
Hope you stay tuned for this month's series. Take care, everyone.